as Ruth's husband. I wanted to talk briefly today about the importance of the seemingly unimportant. And what do I mean by that? Well, often we become engrossed in the big gestures, the big plans and events as a church that we do, and as individuals. We can think that it'll only work if it's big and obviously impactful right from the get-go. But I would argue that the most important steps are those that are taken either alone or with just one or two others. Now, this came into my head again when I was out chatting with a friend about a project they were involved with, about helping young people get back off their feet. And they were saying how this project's been going on for a while, but it only managed to reach a handful of young people. And that word "only" got to me, because even if it had just reached one young person, that's still a whole child's life that's been transformed, saved, and everything else by this project. A whole life. And as important as those big projects, plans, and programs are, God is capable of doing anything, however small. And in fact, I believe He calls us, each and every one of us, to do our small bits, however insignificant they may seem to us. So that to me is the main teaching of Jesus summed up. That's why the Bible verse I always find myself going back to is Romans chapter 15, verse 1. We who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. And I wanted to share a personal example of this with you, about how 6 little words muttered without a second thought ended up saving my life. So when I was 16, I went to my first Christian holiday away. I was the only boy from our church who went, so right from the beginning I was in a position of feeling quite vulnerable. I'm still not sure why it was I went, knowing how I was back then. My experiences up to that point had always taught me that if someone can hurt you, then they will, whether it's to get something they want or just for fun, because they can. And I accepted that. That's just how the world works. No big deal. You just got to learn to live with it or fight back against it, however way. So there I was on the second day at breakfast, trying to find a corner somewhere that I could eat and have a good view of the room and hide myself away. And this guy who'd shared our dorm time the previous night said, "Mate, here's a seat for you." Those 6 words, "Mate, here's a seat for you," and the act of him offering me the seat stuck with me. And after becoming a Christian that summer, I went into a real sort of downward spiral of trying to change my life from what I'd been involved with before and how I was to how God wanted me to be. But I found it extremely hard and repeatedly failed. The next summer, after deciding that I was beyond redemption and no longer worthy of living and all the rest of it, I'd cancelled going to that week away again. But those 6 words, and that guy doing what he did, offering me a seat, kept coming back to me over and over. And before I decided what I was going to do with myself, I wanted to experience what could have been, as I saw it one more time, to experience an environment where people were civil and friendly to each other and actually genuinely seemed to care, which was very strange and freaked me out quite a bit. Even though I would only be pretending to belong there and be part of it as I saw it, it would be a nice thing to go out on. So I went, having managed to get the last available slot that was left, and God stuck his nose in again and put people into my life, and events into my life during that week where I could talk to them, and who could help. And so over the course of the next year after that summer, I was able to get myself help. I went to counselling, I had therapy, and worked through a lot of stuff. God was there throughout all of that, in many different ways, far too numerous to go into here. But it all started with some random guy saying those 6 words, "Mate, here's a seat for you." Words he wouldn't even have thought about saying. And I know that's true because before we moved down here, I I asked around people and was able to track him down and find him helping out with some church up in Stratford. So I went up there one Sunday and explained to him how he'd helped save me, and he didn't even remember doing it. So I guess I'm telling this story to just try and convey that God can literally take any tiny little word or action and change the world through it, and through us, because of those 6 words, Ruth and I are married. Because of those 6 words, William exists. Because of those 6 words, Ruth and I went to a church with Becky, Ruth's eldest, and she met her husband there. So one day there'll be even more little lives probably going around that wouldn't have been there if those 6 words hadn't have been said. So many lives have been altered, transformed, and made better because a random person suddenly took that step to offer me a seat. I guess what I'm saying with all of this is don't dismiss or be discouraged by little things, because there is nothing too small that God can't use.